Next up, we have another power-packed panel discussion themed as advancing security in digital transformation with data, analytics, and AI. We have the team of some of the fantastic, brightest minds of the industry right now, starting off with our eminent panel moderator, Mr. Hugues Kampe. He is the head architecture, data, and cloud with AXA Insurance UAE. And then we also have our eminent panelist, Mr. Ali Hassaan. He is the chief architect with National Bank of Oman, followed by Mr. Sachin Sharma, head IT information security and infrastructure with National Life and General Insurance Oman, Ms. Sheeba Hassaan, senior IT and digital transformation specialist with a government entity, also will be gracing the occasion. And last but not the least, Mr. Yaqoob Alshamsi, data specialist, data science specialist with a renowned government entity. The stage is all yours, Mr. Kampe, to moderate.
Hello, good evening, everyone. How are you doing? Can you hear me properly?
Yes, we are doing good. Assalamu alaikum.
Good evening. It's a pleasure having all of you in this forum. Thank you for joining. We are very, very blessed and very delighted here because in our forum, we have one of the two ladies we have in this conference as speakers. So thank you, Mrs. Sheeba, for joining us. You are specialist in everything related to digital transformation and as well cyber security. Thank you very much for joining. And we also have Mr. Sachin. Thank you, Mr. Sachin, for joining us as well. You are joining us from Oman, and you are responsible of the whole infrastructure for national life and general insurance. So thank you for joining us. Mr. Yaqoob, pleasure to have you. Pleasure to have you in this conversation. I know that you are a data scientist with multiple certifications, so your contribution will be very, very valuable for us. Thank you. And we have Mr. Ali, the chief architect. Mr. Ali, we don't see your camera, but it's okay. It's up to you. Dear participants, thank you very much for being with us. Don't hesitate to write down your questions in the chat so that we can respond to them. And while we discuss, you can write your questions and we will be very happy to respond to them. So you know that today, in today's world, people, hello, Mr. Ali, hello. When it comes to cloud and into cloud in the region, usually people are driven by fear. They're afraid of what the cloud will bring. And sometimes people say, okay, if I move to the cloud, I will not be able to control my infrastructure and the government will have access to the infrastructure. So starting with our lady in the panel, Mrs. Sheeba, would you please tell us, how we might open up to the cloud while maintaining cybersecurity and coping with the high cyber threat in the region?
Dr. Hugues, it is a key question. Basically, pandemic has changed the way we are living, and it has put a lot of tremendous pressure on digital transformation. Whereas, if we talk about cloud adoption, we can see acceleration in cloud adoption and digital transformation worldwide, and it's persistently increasing due to expected tangible benefits and ROI which we receive by organizations by cloud adoption. So I would say, like for instance, if we adopt cloud, it is highly flexible OpEx based model, and it has scalability and rapid deployment and ease of use to work with emerging technologies, because cloud is providing a highly efficient landscape. So moving ahead with such great abilities of cloud, parallelly with cloud adoption, landscape for cyber crime are also increasing abruptly, we can't deny the fact that cybersecurity threats are the biggest challenge for SMEs and government organizations. Therefore, to my mind, a holistic approach of cyber security risk management plan has to be adopted by organizations. So, this particular plan has to be based on seven pillars of cybersecurity. So, I would say these seven pillars are the core, and it would help organizations to attain cybersecurity immune system. So, first and foremost is infrastructure security, because cyber criminals are not only attacking information technology, they are also attacking the operational technology that is running the whole system. That means cyber criminals could potentially cause significant disruption by shutting down the public systems and the core services for whole economy. So that is one part. Next, moving ahead with network security, which is connecting whole world. Then information security, because information is the core for any organization. Moving ahead, cloud security is the fourth pillar, and fifth pillar is organizational policy framework, because framework can only decide your vision, mission, and objectives. Then moving ahead, end user behavior, and last but not the least, compliance and strategy. My colleague Karthik has explained about compliance, and strategy is also the part of it. So I would say, like, with all these seven pillars, there are some key points which have to be remembered by all the organizations. First of all, every organization must have structured requirement and priorities for them. And then moving ahead, business continuity and resilience plan are the core for cybersecurity immune system, because we are planning for cybersecurity risk management plan. So such plans can only be based on business continuity and resilience. And I would say that these plans must be based on risk appetite, continuous monitoring, and reporting infrastructure. So these are some of the like ways where we can uh, overcome the threats which are coming towards us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sheeba. I think it's a very, very complete and valuable contribution, having the pillars and having the framework. I think this is awesome. Our participants will really benefit from your experience today. And Mr. Sachin, I was thinking about, when we put in place this framework and when we have all these capabilities in place, how do we protect our data against data leakage? In order to make sure that we protect as well our company reputation. Do you have some thought about it?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, I would like to say thank you for giving this opportunity. And I always speak with my experience, I think many of participants can recognize me because earlier also I spoke in many of the seminars. As see, entire game, many of in my experience, basically what I would like to share with the audience here, how many IT leads revisit their architecture, their design? How my colleague also rightly mentioned in the conversation, I noticed that she talk about architecture, she talk about design. Every security lead should go back and at least once in a year revisit the entire architecture, entire designs. There are so many things can be controlled through processes, and we should consider that where we are lacking exactly. I'm exactly coming to your point, how about the protection on the cloud, because now before pandemic and this after pandemic, entire world is going towards the digitalization, API automation, robotic automation, and then your digital transformation, cloud, this, that. Are we actually understanding the fact, the sensitivity behind this, or we are just going like this? Many of the organizations I have seen, I have detailed discussion with many of the leaders also across the industry. People are going to cloud and without any assessment, And then after a certain time, they are realizing, oh, they have taken some wrong steps. They are coming back to that. In order to avoid that, I would request and I would recommend our all audience here is, please do the assessment, proper assessment before taking action. You go to cloud, I'm not against that. But before that, please visit your architecture, see your design, decide the availability, sensitivity of your system, and then if you need, there are experts in market, hire a consultant on short period, take their help, tell them to come, assess your entire architecture, entire design, and give you the beautiful report. How would be your ROI? How you should start your journey towards the cloud? I would like to give some keywords over here. Basically, major concern is the encryption. Entire game starts with the data. No matter which firewall we have, WAF we have, internal, external, this, that, so many security solution, EDR, NDR, XDR in market available. Very good, no problem in that. Every product owner has to sell their product. You buy the product, implement properly. I am not against that. My request here is, entire game starts with the data. Understand your data, which device your data is. What is the source of your data, from where the data is coming, how the data flow is. Better to encrypt your data always. Encryption is the most effective way to secure your data. By encrypting sensitive data, you can ensure that your information will be readable or will be accessible only by authorized parties. Rest all no. Backup is the major key. Whether your system is running on-premise, your system is running over the cloud, it is always better to have one backup in any other place, so that tomorrow, if in case, now ransomware is very popular these days, right? Any kind of threat, any kind of external attack, or it can be ransomware, at least you can run your system with a backup. So always keep a backup somewhere else. Still, even though your system is running on the cloud, there are many of partners, basically cloud service providers, ensuring and giving you the by default encryption over the cloud. Better to go and choose those partners who all are providing by default encryption with the cloud services. Always will be better. The moment encryption layer build over your sensitive customer data and then upload over the cloud, then good to go. There is no second thought over there, because as I already mentioned, entire game starts with your sensitivity of your data, confidentiality of your data. Before that, I already mentioned regular backup, external, one more copy of your backup always must be there. You always use cloud service providers giving you default encryption of your data. Then major important point another is, always read the terms and conditions of your cloud service providers, what exactly they are offering, what exactly is your demand over there, because many cloud partners may share your data with anybody else. That should not be the case, and their conditions should be very kind of, you may or may not understand. So always read their terms and conditions very carefully while dealing with the service providers. Every cloud service provider have different kind of methodology, have different kind of styles to deal with your data. So always careful with your data. So by reading their terms and conditions, their backup policies, and their kind of other terms, very small thing. Always create a, we all experts are keep saying, create a strong password. So this methodology applicable everywhere. You go across the world, any solution, always we suggest keep a strong password, keep the regular changes and complexity, maintain the complexity in the passwords. That will be great. These are the major main keys in my experience. Basically, we can save and secure from the threats. See, in these days, there are two methodologies. One, you have to defend against the attack, right? My experience is different. I am saying you prepare yourself for defending against the attack, as well as you have to prepare yourself to continue your business as well, right? So you should be in such, for your, no matter which organization you are, whether it is banking, insurance, healthcare, or any oil, gas, any organization I am saying, always these key major keys are always should be on your thumb rule. Always revisit and see your architecture design. See that many things can be fixed with the process itself. So always revisit your process, enhance your existing processes. And what I'm trying to say here is that maintain the backup, as we already told. Then means
no, it's very clear. It's awesome. It's very clear, Mr. Sachin. We got the keywords: encryption, backup, password policy. This is just awesome because these are basics, and obviously most of the people do not always remember these basics. But you know as well, in today's cloud, we have AI and we have analytics. These are the trend. Everyone wants to do AI. Everyone wants to do analytics. And we have Mr. Yaqoob, who is a data scientist and who is well versed in this domain. So, Mr. Yaqoob, would you please tell us a little bit, how to embrace digital transformation, go for analytics, go for cloud, but remain secure?
Thank you so much, and thanks for everyone for attending this. I gotta say that sitting in a few sessions made me learn a lot from a lot of my peers here, and thank you, Dr. Hugues and Bridget, for inviting me to this. So before addressing this, before addressing this question, I'd like to highlight on how digital transformation is dependent on people, business, and technology. Now, crossing that dimension with components of data loss, such as, and not limited to, securing endpoints, data in motion, or at use, or at rest, we can reach to a result of having innovators setting up the right business with leading edge technology. However, the people are the only executive rational and irrational factor in that equation. As an example of how this can be done right by using logic and reason, let's take, for example, Oman. We've heard from Dr. Nadeem 2 sessions ago on how countries in the Middle East started late. However, if we take Oman as an example, today Oman is ranked the 3rd in the world for countries best prepared for cyber attacks. And that's according to the Global Cybersecurity Index. Now, Oman has been doing so well in the IT security education because they've been working closely with a lot of information security certified entities internationally to recognize people within the public sector as professional and getting them that certification into world-renowned cybersecurity programs. They started investing with the people, and they did it right. And we have seen how they've done a lot of partnerships with countries and organizations on sharing these cybersecurity assets and participating in a lot of international cybersecurity conferences, and such as this one. So my intake on this is that business will always be rational. Technology will always be rational. We made sure that we built them on logic, using logic. But when it comes to irrational factors, they mostly appear in humans. So people who are in a management position, and if we take, again, Oman as an example, they focused on setting that technical skill within that leadership position. And that's why they have obtained such a good quality in advancing their way through digital transformation.
No, it's very powerful. It's very interesting topic. You mentioned people, and I truly agree with you. Even if we want to implement the framework and work on the principles presented by Mrs. Sheeba, if we want to make sure that we have the data encrypted at the right place, we need to have the people, and we need to take care about the irrationality, when we want to secure our systems. Thank you very much, Mr. Yaqoob. Very, very insightful. Mr. Ali, you are the chief architect. So usually as chief architect, you have a complete view on the system, on the company, and on the business as well. And, we are talking about expanding to the cloud and opening ourselves. How might we manage our investments in the cloud to make sure that we are efficient and that we are protected? What's your take on that?
Yes.
You went on mute. If you don't mind, would you please unmute yourself?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, it's perfect now. It's perfect.
Sorry, I was getting a call in between. Yes, thanks everyone for giving this opportunity. See, when we talk about the cloud, it's not new to the financial industry when we talk about the cloud in general. Because see, private cloud is there for a very long time, and most of the financial industries are having their own personal data center where they're running the private cloud. Though the essence of cloud is not matched when we talk about the private cloud, but yes, they are up to a certain extent. We have the virtualization available, we have the time to market enhance and all those features. But when we talk about the public cloud, yeah, that is something which is new in this area, and there are certain regulations that are coming, in power to so that we can, ensure that security and all those things are being intact. As you very well know, the financial industry is tightly regulated by regulatory provider, both at national and international level. And to operate in those boundaries with all those regulatory requirements is a very challenging task. Especially when we talk about the data privacy, that's one of the important requirements for all the cloud providers, for all the regulatory providers. So the first and foremost, when we are talking about the cloud, what we have to ensure is those cloud service providers in the market, are they adhering to those kind of regulatory requirements or those kind of security controls requirements already available with them? Like, for example, if I talk about from the cards related data, like PCI or DSS or PADSS, or from the security angle, ISO 27001, and all those key regulatory and standards are already available with them or not. That is one of the key requirement whenever we are assessing any cloud from the public cloud perspective. Also, there are certain other features that I should talk about. When we talk about the cost perspective on the cloud, there are multiple services that clouds are being offering around the globe. Starting from IaaS, where infrastructure as a service is there, then comes a platform as a service, then comes software as a service, and then there are many other like function as a service or serverless architectures. If I compare, a basic primitive definition of cloud, IaaS, that is, something we are already offering to our own data centers. So, and these kind of investment on public cloud would not suffice or would not justify the investment. Whereas if you go for a more advanced kind of cloud services like platform as a service or software as a service, there is the actual gain from the cost perspective that we should gain. But all those being said, we have to have data privacy and security and regulatory requirement, all those controls being intact. Lastly, see, the world is moving towards open banking architecture or open banking environment, where the complete ecosystem has to be provided, and we cannot have bank working in a silo mode. In such scenarios, we have to look for the cloud in a way that they can be a partner to the bank, where they can leverage bank with those kind of capabilities, which if we go for investing on a person on the bank level, it will be a hefty cost. When we talk about open banking, is basically exposing your services to outside networks, to fintechs, to your partners. So if we go for these kind of APIs, just as a statistic, if I tell you, in 2018, there was a survey being done on the APIs being exposed to the banks. They mentioned that total around 2 million requests used to come for the APIs. Now in 2020, after this PSD2 has full-fledged implemented and fintechs are being integrated with the banks, with different service provider integrated with the bank, the total average number of transactions which is coming is around 2 trillion in 1 year. So if we go for that kind of load, and if you have to scale and provide the robust service with impacting the customer experience, it's not viable for the bank to do such kind of infrastructure investment and leverage the cost. So there this cloud service provider becomes very handy and very useful for us.
That's awesome. I mean, these are impressive figures. We need to be efficient internally, and we also need to be scalable in order to accept this huge demand coming. This is really interesting as well to go to open banking. I don't know if any participant has a question. If you have a question, just raise your hand, and we will be very happy to address the question to the panel.
Well, as of now, Hugues, we don't have any questions. I will keep
Excellent.
that. Yes.
Excellent. So I will open the question to the forum here and to the panelists. The last question, because we only have 4 minutes. We are talking about opening ourselves outside. We are talking about doing analytics. How do we remain compliant? What's your point of view to remain compliant? It's the last question for all of you guys. Please just start talking and explain us how you think that we can remain compliant.
Okay, can I say something about it?
Yes, please.
Basically, if we talk about such scenarios of securities and all, for cloud is the major, and cyber security also. So stakeholders are playing the key role to be to work out, because all stakeholders, if they have the clarity of their area, it will be better to proceed for future and better security. So there are global compliance regulatory authorities also. First of all, there are 3 different types of stakeholders. First is customer, second is the service provider, and the third is the authorities, the global authorities, local level authorities, and international authorities. So like GDPR, PCI, NIST, these are the authorities who are providing the global cloud compliance. So we must know that our service provider has the ability to understand the consequences and criticality of the compliance. So that's the only way we can work out in the compliance area, in my opinion.
That's awesome. Mr. Yaqoob, you want to add something on this?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Dr. Hugh. So from the way I see it is, a lot of officials will be addressing how we can comply and use analytics and AI on the local level or local regulations, but it probably, just for the sake of time, I'll probably mention 3 streams: the economic, the societal, and the legal. So from the economic, we need to highlight on examples of how can this be beneficial. So the e-commerce market size of the GCC is $24 billion US dollars. So 5 years ago, it was projected 20 billion US dollars. And the data shared within the private sector can help create more models to target the right segment of the population that the business is trying to reach. Now, definitely there has to be compliance between the private and the government sector locally and on a GCC level. Now, the beneficial on the local level, degrees of data taxation may be an option, but some may argue that it's still too soon. Now, we're not going to open that topic because it probably needs an entire conference by itself. We may want to wait to experience more growth. Yes, definitely. We have seen around the world different examples on how data analytics can help provide issues of change to protect the weakest segments of society. you can see that compliance is a factor here between both first, second, and third sector and the government. So the third sector being the NGOs, not the government and the private sector. Now, to reach that level, a support has to come from the legal stream at a local level, a pilot data law that could help the private industry within the context of GCC level. And in the future, maybe we can start something and it can be a framework, just like what we proposed, but it could be a framework on GCC data diplomacy. And I hope data diplomacy can become the future in GCC. And I see a lot of countries in the region that could be a hub for that. So that's my intake.
Awesome. This is awesome. I mean, you open a really interesting topic. We can spend hours talking about that, data diplomacy and how we share data. But unfortunately, we are at the end of this panel. Thank you very much for your kind participation. Thank you, Mrs. Sheeba, for all your thoughts, your framework. Thank you, Mr. Ali, for all your inputs as well. Mr. Sachin, thank you. And as well, Mr. Yaqoob. Thank you very much. Bridget, up to you.
Thank you very much, dear Hugues. Thank you very much, Ali, Sachin, Sheeba, Yaqoob, for giving us your precious time. Truly appreciate, especially to you, Hugues, for drafting all the questions and sharing it and being so organized. It really helps at the back end also for us. Truly appreciate your efforts, Hugues, in consolidating the questions. And all thanks to you, dear panelists, for sharing your wonderful insights with us. I hope you enjoy the rest of the session.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.